Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Anthony Joshua has retained his 3 major heavyweight titles, stopping the Bulgarian heavyweight contender Kubrat Pulev in the 9th round of their fight in London. And this one pretty much played to script. Although it could have ended in the 3rd round, and we'll get to that, because Kubrat Pulev, he was dropped twice in that round and turned his back when Joshua was punching him. He was walking into the corner, but it looked like it was going to be waved off, but it continued. But this one ending in the 9th, so we'll start there first. So there were 2 knockdowns in round 3 and then 2 knockdowns in round 9. And a feature of the fight, and this is well predicted by many, including myself, was that Joshua's straight right hands, his uppercuts, were going to be a problem for Kubrat Pulev. And they were in this fight. In between the periods where there was quite cagey action, Joshua was landing some telling shots, and in round 9, just uppercuts galore were coming in. It sort of a punch Kubrat Pulev wasn't really attempting to defend either, and Joshua lands 3 or 4 in a row. Kubrat Pulev is in a world of trouble. He's down on the canvas. He beats the count, but you're thinking, yeah, this is pretty much all over here. Joshua comes in and delivers a cracking right hand. Kubrat Pulev, his soul looks like it leaves his body at this point, down on the canvas. He attempts to beat the count. I think the referee probably could have waved it off, but he counts Kubrat Pulev out, who can only get to his knees, but he cannot beat the count. So Anthony Joshua retains his WBA, IBF and also WBO titles. This was an IBF mandatory defense. And it was a performance where he was patient and he actually took his time. That was evident in the first couple of rounds. And then there was just all action in round 3. Anthony Joshua lands a right hand that puts Kubrat Pulev in a world of trouble. And then Pulev is put down by a series of shots, uppercuts, right hands. Joshua is all over him. And again, Joshua is on him. And it looked like, because Kubrat Pulev is sort of stumbling towards the corner, hand over his head, turned around. I actually thought when the ref was coming in, he was going to wave it off. But he pushes Anthony Joshua out of the way, administers the count, and Kubrat Pulev is extremely lucky to beat, to get out of that round. And it was a case, actually, for about the next 4 rounds. I did wonder, because in particular, round 4, Joshua was pretty sedate. You sort of thought maybe he'll be all over Kubrat Pulev here, finish the job. But it could have been a case that he'd actually expended quite a bit of energy he needed to recover. So he didn't rush things. He took his time. Ultimately, rounds 4 to 7, they were pretty close and competitive. And Kubrat Pulev slowly got his legs back under him. And arguably, he had his best round of the fight in round 8, where he did land a couple of shots, including a right hand on Joshua. But it was one of these sort of situations. Kubrat Pulev, just a little too samey, didn't seem to mix it up, didn't really have anything else that he could do apart from he was sort of standing at range, looking to jab, looking for left hooks, but there wasn't too much creativity. There wasn't a lot that he couldn't seem to adjust in there and do something different to really change the course of the fight. And this is one of the things I said ahead of the fight. What is the path for Kubrat Pulev if he thinks he can just box with Anthony Joshua, the taller and fresher man, the guy with the height and reach advantages? He's probably going to have to do more than that. Even though he fancies himself as a technician, he was at the disadvantage. It wasn't like in other fights where, say Martin Bakole, for example, against Sergey Kuzmin, that he was the taller man. He could just keep pot-shotting, his man. But in this one, Kubrat Pulev was often falling short. He did, land some good jabs of note to the head and body, but it wasn't enough. And he wasn't having a lot of success with his lead left hooks. He was sort of swinging in, sometimes a bit ungainly, but he just didn't have enough success against the guy who was patient and looking for opportunities and mistakes. And he was certainly looking, this is Joshua, for the uppercut and the right hand in this fight. In particular, those punches. And Pulev wasn't really defending the uppercut that well. He was seemingly at times, because Joshua would throw multiple uppercuts, sometimes 3 or 4 at a time. Kubrat Pulev would just sort of take it and not really try to do anything. So that was a little quizzical, but ultimately he landed one that was telling in that 9th round, and it started the rot. Pulev down and then down again from a massive right hand. And it was all she wrote. So overall, good performance by Joshua. Patient, obviously Kubrat Pulev is a tricky operator. He did make it a bit tough in there for Joshua at times. He was hitting with heaps of rabbit punches and getting warned for it. But ultimately, I think Kubrat Pulev just didn't seem to have that next gear to go to. But especially in those rounds where it was low volume. He should have been pushing the pace to make it a bit more difficult and awkward for Anthony Joshua, but clearly he just either didn't have it in the gas tank to do it, or he was still recovering himself, especially after round 3. So Anthony Joshua gets the win, and apart from, I thought he was looking a little bit winded at times, and certainly he had his chin in the air standing pretty straight up at times. Apart from that, it was a solid effort, with a very good finish. And that statement does send a message to the heavyweight division that Joshua, at any time in a fight, he is dangerous, he does have power, and if you do make a mistake, he can make you pay, because Kubrat Pulev, he was pretty out of it at the end there. And the question, what's next? Alexander Usyk is WBO mandatory, or Tyson Fury, who is the WBC champion. Now, we've been dancing around the sort of on the head of a pin with this potential Fury and Joshua fight for a while now. And there had been a lot of talk about it in the lead up to this fight. It was almost like this was used as a potential sales tool for this fight. But ultimately, I think the Usyk one's going to happen first. And Joshua has said if it push comes to shove, he will defend his WBO title. And remembering Alexander Usyk, he was made the mandatory 18 months ago. He was called to face Joshua a year ago, but Kubrat Pulev, who was called at the same time, he went ahead. So I think we are going to see Alexander Usyk next, despite what people want to see. And sort of in the last week or so, we've heard Tyson Fury say, look, I'm not going to be at your fight, I'm going to be sitting at home, etc. I mean, there's not some good signals that this is imminent, if you know what I mean. I hope it is, because they did come to an agreement on sort of the financial terms. That was, some months ago. But we'll have to see what happens next, because I don't actually know if it is going to happen next. And Tyson Fury still has the potential issue of Deontay Wilder, because there's some mediation and such. That whole sort of situation is going on. And although Bob Arum, Tyson Fury's co-promoter, is talking a big game, saying Wilder's got no leg to stand on, well, we haven't had a resolution yet. So maybe Fury is waiting for whatever happens there before he can declare, yep, you're next, we're going to fight. Or maybe it is just going to be the back end of 2021 at the earliest. And I hate to sort of, be a bit of a downer on these sorts of things, but this is what I've been saying for a while. I think it's more likely to be later than sooner, because it is boxing after all, and these things just get eked out, and ultimately the fight gets bigger and bigger. And I think in this case, 2 British heavyweight champions, it's going to do massive business in the United Kingdom. It's a big fight for the division, in the history and the context of the division too. So hopefully it gets made sooner rather than later, but I'm not holding my breath on that either. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.